The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star three trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I don't know what he was doing taking step-back threes at the end of that regulation when he's got bigs on him and he should be driving to the hole.
It's already bad enough that I'm playing with all these NBA and D1 studs that are unstoppable, and I'm the worst one there, and I can still ball with them. But if I start calling fouls, they'll revoke my privileges. Like, I man up when I play with them.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that...
Good morning. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish along with George Kurtz. We are back together again talking some fantasy baseball. We got 2 hours to go over everything that's happened in the week of fantasy and also preview the weekend games as well. George, great to be back with you here. I know it's been a few weeks apart here. You were on vacation. I had a week off. We had a great Kentucky Derby special on, but we're back talking baseball once again here on the show. A little football will mix in as well.
Absolutely. Always good to be talking baseball with you, Craig. Right? Baseball season is starting to heat up now, right? We're in about week 6, week 7 here. So we're starting to see, I guess we're starting to see trends we can trust a little bit more now.
Yeah, and one thing, George does refuse to sit on the left, just like Rafael Devers. That's where we'll begin here on the show. I'm just kidding. George will sit to the left, to the right. It doesn't matter to him. But yeah, like an interesting story going on in Boston where, boy, it seems like you got to kind of pick a side here with Rafael Devers refusing now to play first base. Of course, there was some discourse before the season about switching positions as well. And the ownership, apparently, according to several reports, had to fly out to talk to Devers. We'll see how that ends up going. We thought that'd be the biggest story of the week. And then this dropped a couple days ago, George. The Pittsburgh Pirates make a change by firing manager Derek Shelton. He, of course, has been with the Pirates for a number of years. He officially is out as manager. And Don Kelly has taken over, at least for the time being, although they don't put an interim on his tag. Shelton, naturally is just managing the team that he is given, and we'll get into that as to whether or not he could have done a better job. Giancarlo Stanton may be back soon. We'll see. And George Pickens traded to the Dallas Cowboys. I know that made George happy that they have another wide receiver outside CeeDee Lamb. They didn't really tackle that in the draft, so they tackle it through trade. All right, so a lot to unpack here. Let's start off first with Devers, because this is more of a fantasy effect, I think, than anything else. I think fantasy owners are just like, dude, just go play first. Let me get my first base qualification. He's not a great defender. He's already bent over a little bit for the team at the beginning of the season. They're asking him to do something else. He is their most expensive player, George. He is probably their best player, although Alex Bregman is having a great start to his season too. I think the traditionalists are basically saying, hey, look, you just got to go play where they ask you to play, and that's it. And then others are saying, hey, they already did this to him once. Really not right that they would do it to him again. Where do you stand?
They did this to him once. Is that what traditionalists are saying? They asked you to go play DH, which means you're not playing, just batting. All right, so I don't want to hear this. It's not like they asked him to go play left field. Now they want you to play first base. right? They want you to play across the diamond here to help the team win. Isn't this what he complained about? Once again, the team wasn't doing anything to win. Well, now they are trying to do things to win, and you don't want to help them. I think this is all on. I think it's a terrible look. I think he was nuts when he came out and said what he said the other day. Even if you felt that way, don't come out and say it. I think it's just an awful look here. So you're making the money. You're making thorough $29.5 million, and that number is going to rise over the years. We got a 14-year contract, whatever it is here, and they ask you to play first base. It's just not catcher. It's something you can't do. You can play first base. All right, you may not play it well, but you didn't play third base well. So I think this is just a bad look. Listen, maybe we're old school. Back in the day, you did whatever the team asked you to do. And I can understand it can be annoying here, but they're trying to win now. They don't have. It's not like they planned on this. No one had any idea that Tristan Casas was going to, rupture his patella tendon while running to first base. They didn't know. And now the team is sort of caught in a bind here. What do you want? They're trying to win in a very winnable American League East. I mean, you would think he'd be, I don't know, Craig. You just think he'd be willing to do this. Oh, yeah, I'll help the team out. This makes sense for us. This way we can move somebody else into the DH role. I think it's kind of selfish that he won't do this.
Yeah, look, I understand that. I just think that, to take it a little step further, George, I mean, Devers wanted to play. How do you argue with a player that still wants to play defense? And I think that you're maybe underemphasizing that a little bit here. I mean, that's basically what he was saying, is that even though he obviously was not the best defender at third base, he was like, look, I want to play and not DH. And so he already did this. He's not preparing to play the field at all, I'm sure, before games, and now you're asking him to do it again. So, George, what I think is happening here is I think Devers is going to do this. I think he's going to. But I think he's also going to make it clear you can't keep bleeping with me, around the clock here. Tell me do one thing, tell me do another thing. So while I understand your opinion and your take on it, and it is fair to think, hey, you're making this amount of money, you should do whatever they ask you to do, it's got to be within reason. And to me, I think Devers is going to end up playing first base for the Boston Red Sox. But I think he also wants his voice heard, like, hey, I'm not just going to keep doing whatever you ask me to do. You're asking George physically in terms of playing a position, yes, but you have to remember, once a player is asked to play designated hitter, they don't take ground balls as much before games. They don't prepare to play the field as much before games. Now they're going to ask him to do so. Is that a big deal? No, but it does change the guy's routine. So, I mean, we see it a little bit differently here. I don't think it's exactly how you say, probably not exactly how I say either. Now, it's definitely not exactly the way that the Pirates season wanted to go, and there's a lot of culpability here for sure. George, Derek Shelton lost his job. To be honest, the Pirates were never really good under Derek Shelton. That is the truth. The other part of the truth is that they really did not do enough in the offseason to make the team better. I saw them play the first few games of the season, if you remember, against the Marlins, and I was like, wow, this team is just not good. So I think it goes a lot further than Shelton. Everyone is just throwing the owner under the bus. Bob Nutting, I get it. They're throwing Ben Cherington under the bus. Yes, I get it. But there is culpability here too, I think. And I'm sure, George, unfortunately, we're going to be doing this with Brandon Hyde pretty soon of the Baltimore Orioles. And we'll probably be having a very similar conversation. But in my mind, I don't know how to divide the pie chart here, but Shelton's got to take some of it. And Paul Skeens, I think, outlined that to the media the other day. All right. Well, we'll try to figure out what's going on. Maybe I just talked too much there. Do you think that's what happened? I was just talking too long. But either way, we'll get back to George here in just a minute. So, yeah, I'll just sort of expand on the conversation. So, managers generally do not get fired in the month of April. It almost never happens. So when the clock turns and the calendar turns to May, that's when teams start to evaluate each other. Okay, George, sorry, I don't have to just keep standing on my soapbox here. You got it.
All right. Anyway, as far as Pittsburgh's concerned, I think what you said is fair. All right. I think Shelton does deserve some blame. That being said, the lion's share of that blame has to be on ownership. All right, he didn't try this offseason. Just didn't try. Didn't add anybody. And you and I discussed this when we did the Pirates preview during the in March. They didn't add anybody offensively. Andrew McCutchen is your cleanup hitter, and I love Andrew McCutchen, but come on. Tommy Pham was your leadoff guy. What are we doing here? And I loved their pitching staff at that time. It was Skeens, Jerry Jones was healthy back then. They could call up Bubba Chandler. And I liked the way it was going, Mitch Keller. But their offense was never going to be there. So do I think Shelton deserves some blame? Yeah, sure. But the lion's share of blame in my mind is ownership. They don't seem to care about being mediocre. And saying they're mediocre is probably kind. They're well below mediocre. I think this is on ownership here. And by the way, you brought up Corbin Burns. I understand, but you didn't try to help there either.
All right. No, I think that's fair, but also what I would say about the Pirates is this. So even if what George is saying is accurate, and I do believe there is a lot of accuracy to that they could have done more. I agree. They should have put their foot on the pedal a little bit more. You're in a position arguably with the best pitcher in baseball, and you do very little to help your team. I think you can evaluate it that way, and you also can evaluate it by saying they still have no business, and they won last night, I guess, without interim manager with Don Kelly, 13-26 on the season. I mean, to me, that's where I draw the line here, George. Like, if you're 3 games under 500 or 4 or 5, okay, like, yes, let's start yelling and screaming, wow, what if they would have done more? But this is an abysmal start. Base running has been horrible for them. A lot of mistakes on the field. We'll be right back with more fantasy sports today.
You don't think that there's something to the fact that they blow all these leads against the Edmonton Oilers? It's like the Oilers could be down 4 goals and they come back like it's nothing.
We got a series now. I think this thing is going to reset, Scott. I think home ice advantage is going to hold true in this series. I think I told you that last week. I'm expecting this. I picked the Kings in 7 before the series started, and it's like plus 700.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Under him was Sharon Moore, who also participated in the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. So you know what happens to him? He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't get a 10-year show cause. He gets to keep his job, and they go, we're just going to suspend you for 2 games next season.
Now, all of a sudden, they're coming out with everything that we knew to be pretty much true when it was happening. Yeah, they were cheating. It was like Belichick and the videotapes, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star 3 trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. Great to be back with you here on a Saturday morning. Craig Mish along with George Kurtz as we dive into the hot players of the week in fantasy baseball. George, let's get started. Some very random names in baseball, and maybe that's the way that randomness has worked for the Detroit Tigers. Trey Sweeney, 522 on the week, 1 home run, 6 runs driven in. Break up the Tigers, man. Right now, let me take a look at their record, just to make sure I got this right. Yeah, they've won 5 in a row. They're 26-13, and I know that you're going to think that this is fake. That's probably fine, but I think it's now time to start talking about it here. I waited, a little bit over a month. I'd probably be wrong. On my show, And on the early line, this is my team to win the American League and go to the World Series. I'm feeling like there's a chance of this actually happening. Sweeney's been a nice, little bit player, but that's the thing, George. They have all of these little bit players with this amazing pitching staff. I got to tell you, when it comes to the Tigers, I don't believe this is a Pirate situation. I think that ownership group and that family is going to go all in, man, at the deadline. I think they're going to take a real shot at this thing. I think that the opportunity is there. No one in the American League has really separated themselves. I think the Yankees will probably be there in the end, and there's a lot of good teams in their division. But it's week after week. We're talking about different players on the Tigers coming through.
On this May 10th, you can make a fair argument that they are the best team in the American League. And I agree. The Tigers will spend money. I have no doubt they'll spend money. They'll go out and get a bat, or I think it's what they'll need, a bat, bullpen help at the deadline here. Starting pitching, what's really nice about them, we know Scooble's great, right? You add Flaherty, fine, a nice veteran pitcher there. You got Mize, you got Job. Reese Olson's been good. They can throw a quality start at you almost every game. Right, and that's nice to come out there because their offense does have some issues here. Although Torkelson looks like he's going to be that guy we've been waiting for. Gleyber Torres, when healthy, he's been good. Riley Green's been a little up and down here, but was the player of the week last week, right? So yeah, but I also think this tells you how mediocre the American League is, because if you're not going to say if you don't believe, oh no, it's not the Tigers, then it's the Seattle Mariners. Right, maybe they're the best team. Another team that, right, once again can throw quality starts to every game here, and they're hitting. The Yankees, they have some. Actually, the American League East is sort of watered down. Yankees, Red Sox, that has nothing to do with Devers, by the way. Jays, Rays, or Orioles. None of them are really the team maybe we thought they were going to be this year. So yeah, I think the American League is wide open. And why not the Detroit Tigers? Seattle Mariners, we've sort of been waiting for a couple of years. But I'm with you. With Tigers on this May 10th, may be the best team in the American League.
Yeah, could be. Speaking of the team that's close behind every year, and again, this year too, Cleveland Guardians, Daniel Schneemann, 3 home runs this past week, 8 runs driven in. I mean, look, he's had some huge hits. I know. I believe a grand slam was one, but hello, waiver wire. He was a nice pickup.
That grand slam cost me a win in several leagues from Kevin Gossman. Yeah, I was not happy about that. I mean, it's one of those things where you start throwing things at the TV and screaming, like, you got to be kidding me. When they blew that, I think Hoffman blew that save. Was not happy. But I have no answers for I don't know how they keep winning. And they do. They trade people away, and Jimenez, they got traded or whatever. They never look all that great, but they still win games. Another team that very good with pitching, even though it's with guys who we don't truly trust here, Lively, Gavin Williams, wherever it might be, but they always seem to be there at the end. They play the game, I guess, the way it should be played, and they win. And maybe it's the Central, maybe it's not, but them, the Twins, it's like you always how does this team keep winning games? It's always how I feel about the Guardians.
Now, meanwhile, in Houston, are we going to play this game again? Jake Myers. I mean, this guy always, George, for pockets of time over the last few years, looks like he's going to be a star in reality and fantasy, and then he just disappears. I feel like Myers and McCormick are the same guy. They show up and then they're gone, and then they're back and then they're gone. 2 home runs this past week, 450 batting average. So ride him while he's hot, I guess, George. Is that fair? I thought some other team, by the way, would trade for him by now.
I agree on all points here. I think he is the guy. Yeah, he's hot again, playing well. Fine, pick him up. We all need to start from generally we start $5. Outfielders, maybe it's 4 in your league. A DH, we can go through the numbers again. They're all valuable. So yeah, you grab him now and you move on when he doesn't. I don't think he's going to ever become that guy where he's a must start week in, week out here. And maybe he is, depending on the size of your league here and what's available on your waiver wire and what's available on your roster. But I think he's playable now. Yes, I mean, hey, you may have a great team. And you don't need help at outfield. You don't need a DH utility player there. But for now, he's playing well. And I agree with you, McCormick, almost the same kind of guy as well. There'll be a time where he's playing well. And now we got to play him. Remember, then again, Cam Smith was the big guy in spring training, right? He was the big name.
Yeah.
Oh, and that hasn't really worked out all that great there. Houston as a whole, they're not really hitting all that great. They really do miss Jordan Alvarez.
Yeah, Texas isn't hitting either. Sort of incredible. All right, players that did not have a great week. Chicago, constantly trying to solve this first base situation, man. It feels like it's just going on every year. Michael Busch struggling over the past week. The Cubs are a really good team. I know they lost to Managa for a bit. They'll get him back naturally. But if the Cubs are going to attack something, maybe this is the position to attack. They had Mervis last year, if you remember, for a bit, sent him to Miami. Just really don't have that position locked down. I guess Bellinger was the lockdown guy there, right?
I guess, right? You should trade him away. You didn't want to pick up the contract, which with the Yankees, I can sort of see now as he's been okay. More better defensively than offensively. So I guess I understand that. But they have problems really at both corners, right? I mean, you want to get right now. Your starting third baseman is John Birdie. So there's some issues here. I actually saw a proposed trade on Twitter the other day. Devers for a bunch of players from Chicago here. So things weren't going to work out there because they need a first baseman and a third baseman. I'm guessing Devers would play third base for them. So they'll fix it, right? I think they will spend money. They did try and sign Bregman, and I understand. He went for a bigger contract with Boston. I get it, and it was a monster contract there. So I think they will go out and try and be very. They're going to try and fix at least third base, maybe first base at the deadline. Also, I think they're going for it this year.
All right, we'll take a quick time out on fantasy sports today. Coming up next, if you missed last night's explosion by the Los Angeles Dodgers, we'll tell you quickly about what Shohei Ohtani did yet again, which includes another incredible comeback. And Ohtani's as clutch as anybody. But if you want to download the SportsGrid app so you can learn more about our shows and our programming and stream our shows 24/7, there it is for both iOS and Android. Just take out your phone. There's that QR code. Take a screenshot of that, and it's available in the App Store, Google Play Store as well. Fantasy Sports Today. We'll be right back.
You don't think that there's something to the fact that they blow all these leads against the Edmonton Oilers? It's like the Oilers can be down 4 goals and they come back like it's nothing.
We got a series now. I think this thing is going to reset, Scott. I think home ice advantage is going to hold true in this series. I think I told you that last week. I'm expecting this. I picked the Kings in 7 before the series started, and it's like plus 700.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Under him was Sharon Moore, who also participated in the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. So you know what happens to him? He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't get a 10-year show cause. He gets to keep his job, and they go, we're just going to suspend you for 2 games next season.
Now, all of a sudden, they're coming out with everything that we knew to be pretty much true when it was happening. Yeah, they were cheating. It was like Belichick and the videotapes, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they played. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. In case you're just waking up with us, by the way, last night, I know we're going to get back into the week of fantasy. George, I think we should touch on last night's game real quick, which ended at like 2 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast. And Shohei Ohtani hits a home run in the extra innings to send the Dodgers to a wild win. In fact, I believe they were up 5 and then trailing, and then up 3 and then trailing, and then up 2 and then trailing, but they just kept fighting back and coming back against the Diamondbacks. And then Ohtani delivers his 12th home run of the season, flips the bat in a way, by the way, we've never seen Ohtani do. I don't know if you saw this as well. So right now, very rare, George, at this stage of the season. I know it's still early, okay? It's May, let me see here, May the 10th. But I don't recall like being in May and having 4 or 5 guys tied exactly for the home run lead. That's where we're at here with 12 home runs. Like everyone thought Judge was just going to run away with this thing like 3 weeks ago. Not so fast.
Yeah, because Judge got off to the hot start. Although, listen, Judge pretty much took all of April off last year. And living here in New York, by the way, most of the games the Yankees have played them in awful weather here, it seems like. So we'll see what happens with Judge and heating up. Did put one off the wall last night in Sacramento. But that was it was a fun game. Unless, hey, if you started Sasaki this week, probably not so much fun. All right, because he blew that. Yeah, it goes both ways, right? Because you started Sasaki and you're not. Mainly because we're still waiting for Sasaki to turn it around, right? And be that guy that he was supposed to be, and he's not. And I got him in a league or two, Craig, and I'm not starting. I didn't start him this week, and I'm not starting him next week. And I kind of I forget who he's pitching against. I like the matchup, but I can't do it. He just hasn't been that guy. I'll go with other guys here. He had an 8-3 lead last night and blew it when Lourdes Gurriel hit the grand slam here. You mentioned all the runs the Dodgers scored 6 runs in the 9th inning to win that game. They were down 11-8 going into the ninth. Now, Max Muncy had tied it with the pinch hit single, another guy who's done nothing this season that was sort of waiting for from the Dodgers. So he tied it at 11, then a couple of batters later. And you knew it, by the way. I'm watching the game. It's the last game on of the night. And when Ohtani came up there, I'm like, oh, just walk him. Load the bases with Betts. Let Betts beat you. Don't let Ohtani do it. And I understand no one's going to do that, but I would have loaded him. I'm a big believer in that. And I know Betts is great, by the way. I do. And maybe he would have beat you too. But I'm not letting Ohtani beat me in that situation. Betts has not had the year that Ohtani's had, even though he did have a couple of hits last night. But it was a fun game here. And maybe we'll get more of that tonight as well.
Yeah, Jason Dominguez also, George, by the way, with one of the best games you'll ever see. 3 home runs, right, last night in Sacramento?
3 home runs. He capped it off with the grand slam. Sam's in my ear telling me like I wasn't watching the game, Cam. Sam, okay? I do box scores of the games, right? That might tell you how sad my life is on a Friday night. But
no, you don't.
Yeah. Every now and then I do. I like doing box scores. I do. Even at home. Just keeps me interested.
You score the game from home?
Wow. Yeah. I like doing it. I like it. Yeah. All right. Fine. Should have kept that little nugget to myself there. But yeah, Dominguez hit 3 home runs there. And I don't think they were pure Sacramento home runs. I'm the first person to tell you they probably would have been a home run at every ballpark. Although ironically, the one that he hit right-handed, which everybody says he can't hit right-handed, that was probably the first home run he hit. The one to left center field, the 2 where he hit left-handed were decent shots, but not great. But yeah, good game for Dominguez, which once again, fans are waiting for. He hit the Martian, going to be this great player. We'll see if that continues, especially once they leave Sacramento. They do play Seattle first 3 games next week.
Yeah, what's interesting is I was on my show Newswire this week. I'm going to constantly throw my producer under the bus, Frank, who I never do, by the way, here on the show. He says at the end of the show, George, like, look, the guy is like delusional with New York sports, not like you. Like he's like delusional, like with a capital D. Toward the end of the show, he says, I think Ohtani's like overrated. I'm like, what? I'm like, are you nuts? Like, this is the player I've ever seen play. He's not pitching that much anymore. I'm like, what are you even saying here? Like, I don't, George, you've watched baseball longer than me. He's the best player we've ever seen, right? Like, it's not close.
He's a complete unicorn. We haven't seen this. And I don't know if he's going to pitch again. The Dodgers stringing him along. I think he will pitch. But we've never seen this. Like I said, I'm not kidding. I would have walked him last night. It would have been a thought in my head. I'm not letting him beat me. He does it all the time. His pressure doesn't seem to bother him. It's almost like he wants to be up there, and he's just going to crush the ball. Even if he made an out, it would be a hard out somewhere. No, we haven't seen this with Ohtani. And I don't know if we will again, Greg.
No, we never will. There's some guy from the KBO says that he wants to be the next Ohtani, shortstop and pitcher. I mean, come on, man. This kid's signed for $1 million in Texas. Ridiculous. All right, we'll take a quick time out here on the show. We kind of skipped over what we normally do, which is our aces. I thought Ohtani deserved that segment, so we'll take a quick time out. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
all think that there's something to the fact that they blow all these leads against the Edmonton Oilers? It's like the Oilers could be down 4 goals and they come back like it's nothing.
We got a series now. I think this thing is going to reset, Scott. I think home ice advantage is going to hold true in this series. I think I told you that last week. I'm expecting this. I picked the Kings in 7 before the series started, and it's like plus 700.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Under him was Sharon Moore, who also participated in the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. So you know what happens to him? He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't get a 10-year show cause. He gets to keep his job, and they go, we're just going to suspend you for 2 games next season.
Now, all of a sudden, they're coming out with everything that we knew to be pretty much true when it was happening. Yeah, they were cheating. It was like Belichick and the videotapes, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Is Steve Kerr coming back? They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star 3 trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back, Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. Let's talk about some aces in baseball of the week, and I'll get the ball rolling here on this weekend show. Start off with the Atlanta Braves, hanging around here, George, hanging around. Strider coming back, Acuna coming. I feel like we've been doing this for a month, but hey, could have been worse. Braves could have been the Pirates, 13 games under 500. A.J. Smith, Shawver this week, 8 innings pitched, no earned runs, 1 hit, had a no-hitter broken up, also had 5 strikeouts. What can you say? The Braves just have a great development system of offensive players and pitchers as well, which enables them, George, when they have some really bad luck, to kind of hang in there, which is what they've done. And then they'll get their guys back, I assume, at some point. And by the way, Ozzie Albies, I assume, will start hitting, and some of the other guys too. It's sort of crazy. Like, you could look, no one's going to be as bad as the Rockies, but you could look at the Braves and say with their start that they've had, their record should even be worse.
That's not wrong. You're right. It could be worse here. Now, we do get some good news here, right? Strider's going to have a bullpen today, and then they'll make a decision. Going to go in rehab or maybe return to the rotation next week. So we're going to get Strider by the end of the month. Worst case scenario here. We probably saw sooner than that here. Now, our producer, Sam Yarnell, actually asked us this question about pick our ace of the week that we had, I guess technically that we had on one of our rosters. And I chose Smith Scheuer as well, but Craig got in there before I did. And I got news for you. Looking at my rosters, I couldn't find anybody else. All right, I'm having a tough time, Craig, with pitching in my leagues. I don't know why. It's a weird year. I just can't get consistent wins at all, or quality starts, whatever I'm going for in leagues here. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle week in and week out for me. So the guy I chose, by the way, I do not have. All right, on any of my teams, but I couldn't find anybody on my roster, so I had to cheat a little bit here. And I chose Chris Bubik of the Kansas City Royals, mainly because he's a guy that, all right, you might have known it before the season, but you didn't expect to have these kind of numbers. His ERA is 1.69 this week. Comes off an excellent start here against the Chicago. I know it's the Chicago White Sox, which is why I'm bringing up his season stats more than his week's stats. Right? Everyone pitches well against the White Sox. 1.69, 1.1 WHIP here. He's got 4 wins. I mean, Kansas City Royals are playing well. What are they? 16-2 now in their last 18 games. So they're playing out of their mind as well. I understand. Once again, if you look at the Royals schedule, they haven't played the best of teams here during this 18-game stretch. But you know what? Got to beat who's on your schedule here, and they're taking advantage of it here. So my ace of the week was Chris Bubik, but you stole my guy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, I think I've done that 2 weeks. In fact, the last time I stole your guy, I think Sam, our producer, he told me you stole George's guy. You can't use that one. So this time he just gave him to me, I guess. Maybe I got in ahead of you. I don't know. Uh, so Sam has an ace of the week. This is a stunner, by the way, that Casey Mize, any pitcher could go to Colorado and strike out 8, 1 and run, 6 innings. So this is a 2-part dynamic here. Casey Mize, great. Okay. All of a sudden, this guy who was a top 5 pick in the Major League Baseball draft has come into his own. The Tigers legit have 4 guys who can get outs at any time. The flip side of this, George, is that something that you and I discussed at the beginning of the season came true. Not in the way that I could have anticipated the Rockies being 25 games under 500, but you and I sort of foreshadowed this a little bit looking at the roster, as in we played fantasy 10 years ago and we're like, okay, let's just make sure we get Carlos Gonzalez or like one of these guys on the Rockies that is not very good, but they're going to end up hitting 20, 30 home runs. They really didn't have any of those guys going into the year. And Chris Bryant was hurt again. And like Zach Veen came up and went down quick. Like, this is just, I just feel so bad for the fans in Denver. They go to all of these games and they kind of had to know going into the season it was going to be this bad. I don't know if you saw earlier this week Kyle Freeland crying on the podium. Like, my gosh, what is going on there? There's like this should be more of an outrage, honestly, than Pittsburgh, George. I mean, in Denver, they get the sellouts there, 25,000 a night.
To show how much we, Craig and I are on the same wavelength there, I was going to bring up the Kyle Freeland interview while you were talking, and that was, kind of sad. Once again, it's ownership doesn't seem to care. I was going to ask you this. There was a time, and not too long ago, where your pitcher was pitching in Colorado, you weren't starting him. All right?
That's right.
Right. You would, and now it's not an automatic no. It's not. And now I'm like, all right, I might start him because there's no one in that lineup I'm afraid of. I like Doyle. I got him on a team or two. I like Doyle, but that's it. I know Hunter Goodman was a big pickup this week. We saw him going a couple of teams. Taglia's got some power, but not quite the hitter we thought, or at least, so far. It's still early, so we're not really truly panicking here, but not quite the player we thought he had. Tovar's been hurt. Sad, because, at least with the Rockies, they were fun to watch. You're gonna have a lot of 14-11 games you saw in Arizona. Now we rarely get that. It's almost a sad situation. The Chris Bryant thing, which most of us knew was a disaster of a contract from the minute that ink dried, is certainly not playing out. He had surgery again this week, successful surgery, but then again, it's always successful. So we'll see how it works out there. But sad what's going on in Colorado.
Yeah, I can't, obviously, dive into every single team in baseball, but I will say with Pittsburgh and Colorado specifically, let's talk about those two teams. And I don't know the dynamic of what's going on, but to not talk fantasy and talk a little reality here, George, I'll tell you my opinion. It seems to me that we are all waiting for this next collective bargaining agreement. And it seems like teams in Milwaukee, it seems like teams in Major League Baseball outside of LA and Philadelphia and the Mets and the Yankees, okay, let's not lump them in, even Arizona, and maybe even Baltimore's in this category. It feels like everyone is going to wait to see that pan out. And George, if we do get a cap, which I do believe is going to be asked for, and we do get a floor at that point, which I do think has to be there, I think that's going to change the game and change it for the better. Because again, you'll have these teams that really are not incentivized. And I think that if you ask the Rockies right now before the season, not to say that there's any excuse for being this bad, how in the world are they going to compete with those top 3 teams in the division? There's no way. How in the world, do the Pirates think that they're going to be able to beat out the Mets or the Dodgers at the end of the season? It's not possible. So do you owe it to the fans to do something, maybe to be more competitive? Yes, I get that. But I could tell you that I don't think you're going to see the same dynamic with the new collective bargaining agreement, because teams are going to have to spend. They're going to have to meet the minimum. And then at that point, it becomes like the NBA and the NFL, where free agency opens up. You have a certain amount of money. You got to spend it, and there's going to be a lot of competition for players. And then when players aren't signed initially, they're going to have to look at a team that hasn't signed anyone. So you don't have to necessarily wait an entire offseason. So for me, I kind of think that's where we're headed. I know we're going to have to endure another year of this, but I do think in 2 years from now, I think you're going to see the Pirates spend. I think you're going to see Milwaukee and Cleveland and the Rockies. I think all of those teams are going to jump in on salary.
We'll see. Salary cap's going to be a hard thing for the union to eat. And what the hell are you going to give the union to get it? We wouldn't have a chance back in the day with Donald Fear and company there. Maybe with Tony Clark. I don't know. It's not. The union's not as strong as it once used to be here. So we'll see with that. That also leads to a shortened season, if maybe even a lost season here, because I just don't see that working out before opening day at all. That'd be a nightmare. It would be a nightmare.
But don't you think that we have to have that at this point? Can't have teams like LA doing what they're doing and then other teams zero. Come on. I mean, we got to have a change.
You can't go the way it's going, right? Because it's ridiculous. And what irks a lot of people as well is that these teams get all the whatever money they get, they don't spend. They just eat it and make a profit, a big profit at that here. So that's annoying to a lot of fans as well, including me. By the way, the team like the Pirates or the Baltimore don't do anything. No, don't do anything. And I think we can't go the way we're going. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Whether or not we're going to get a cap, I have my doubts. I just don't know if the union will give that up. But that also leads to, like I said, very shortened
but with the floor
baseball in a couple of years.
But isn't the floor the compromise there? Like all of a sudden, teams are going to have to spend $100 million on payroll. Salaries. Right, but you're going to have so much more money available because the lower teams are going to have to get in on that, like the NBA and the NFL. I don't know. I think it makes sense, man. I don't think you can have the disparity going on with what's going on. All right, we'll get to baseball injuries next. Don't go away.
You don't think that there's something to the fact that they blow all these leads against the Edmonton Oilers? It's like the Oilers can be down 4 goals and they come back like it's nothing.
We got a series now. I think this thing is going to reset, Scott. I think home ice advantage is going to hold true in this series. I think I told you that last week. I'm expecting this. I picked the Kings in 7 before the series started, and it's like plus 700.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Under him was Sharon Moore, who also participated in the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. So you know what happens to him? He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't get a 10-year show cause. He gets to keep his job, and they go, we're just going to suspend you for 2 games next season.
Now, all of a sudden, they're coming out with everything that we knew to be pretty much true when it was happening. Yeah, they were cheating. It was like Belichick and the videotapes, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star 3 trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports today here on SportsGrid. We did a little soapbox, I think, in our previous segment there a little bit. Got away from fantasy, but I think it's fun to talk baseball anyway. All right, let's talk some injury news here, George. And boy, we got some big ones this week. So let's hit on them. I'll ask you which is the biggest one of the week, by the way. All right, so Dylan Cease, forearm cramp. Yikes. Hunter Green, groin strain. He's already on the IL. And then Teoscar Hernandez, groin strain. Now, there were some others. We'll get to those. But of those three, which is the biggest impact for you? And then I'll give you my opinion. Cease, Green, and Hernandez. Green and Hernandez, by the way, IL. Cease, not IL soon, right? Like that's not. He's okay. Yes, headed on the IL. So what do you got, George, fantasy-wise? What's the biggest impact?
Without knowing long term, I mean, right now, I'd probably go Hernandez because he's going to be out. Even Robert seems to be a little worried. That's going to be at least a few weeks to a month. So I'm sort of cautiously optimistic with Cease and Green that it's nothing, that's going to keep you out to the All-Star break or beyond. But you said when you hear forearm cramp, you always worry here. And by the way, Cease was pitching great against the Yankees the other night. He looked really good. All right, so it was and Bellinger hit the home run off him in the seventh to tie it up. That's one of those frustrating things, by the way. He's pitching great, got a shutout, I think a one-hitter, and then Bellinger ruins it all for you because San Diego didn't hit. So you lost your win. You lost your any chance for a complete game, shutout, and he's just gone. You got a quality start if you count that. So I'm going to go Hernandez here because he's the one I think is out the longest right now. But if you're asking me which one I worry more about, it's probably Cease because it's forearm. Whenever you hear forearm, you get scared.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, it seems as though Hunter Green's going to miss some significant time, maybe a month or so. But again, it's not an arm injury. Like initially when I saw that he was leaving the game, that's what was my first thought. Like his arm, something's going on. I mean, this guy has been so good. But the good news is, I guess if there's good news, it was a groin injury. Also, a couple of other injury notes here. Yordan Alvarez, by now, you got to know he was placed on the injured list. Got to get him out of your starting lineup. Tommy Edmonds, still waiting for him to come back after that great start as well, George. But Alvarez is clearly a big loss. But what's kind of funny? I don't know if you're following the story, but Alvarez has had some very peculiar injury designations through the years, and this one is not like a bruised hand or something, which tells you basically, like, again, I don't know this to be factual, but it does feel like maybe Yordan was just like, I need a break. Yeah, hand inflammation. Like, I mean, you're a Major League Baseball player. Like, wouldn't 3 days off do that trick? I don't know. I mean, he's had some strange stuff happen to him.
What is it? It's a muscle strain, I believe. They do say he'll be activated when first eligible on the 13th. Right. So what is that? 10, 11 next Tuesday. So I don't know if I feel comfortable putting him in my lineup. We'll see. If I in a league I have, if I generally when players come back and they're not, if my league works where it's a Tuesday and if I can't change him out, he's either in or out. If it's a weekly lineup league, I might leave him out next week just in case he gets a reoccurrence or he doesn't start hitting right away. We could have that as well here, so that might worry me. Tommy Edman, we heard, he's still feeling discomfort in his ankle. That came out yesterday, so maybe he's not coming back. And remember, Robert said originally he'll be back, short, but now that might be extended a little bit, so we can worry about that a little bit more as well here. So injuries, it's always the same story every year. It always seems like there's a lot more. Oh, so many more this year than last year, but there probably was the same amount last year as well. And you need to survive them. You just need to survive them. And it seems to me when I look at my leagues, the teams that are in first place or doing well are those teams that don't have 9 injuries. They only have 2 or 3. You need to be somewhat lucky in fantasy. You do. You need to stay healthy. To me, it's always the most important thing. I don't care about this, that, and the other thing. Just don't take away my players.
Yeah, better to be lucky than good, I think, sometimes in fantasy baseball. All right, so now let's talk some 2-start pitchers for the coming week. And George, I'll start off with maybe the biggest surprise in the pitching fantasy season, Tyler Mahle from the Texas Rangers. I mean, if the Rangers could only hit their weight a little bit, wouldn't they be like running away with this division? I don't know what's going on with their offense. But Mahle is now back. He is healthy. He's pitching great. And my gosh, he's got a matchup Monday against the Rockies and then takes on Houston. These are both home games. To me, that could be one of the best 2-start pitchers of the week, and I did not have that one coming going into the season.
Agreed. The only thing about Mahle is that he's gone already in your leagues. All right, I would think anyway. He's got such a hot start this season that I would thought he would have been picked up a couple of weeks ago, but he's been fantastic. And you're right. The only thing you're really worried about, I think he'll pitch great. I mean, it's the Rockies, of course, and it's at home. It's not even in Colorado. You're not even worried about that. And Houston's no longer an offensive threat, really, even with Alvarez in there. Maybe this all does come crashing down eventually with Mahle. But remember, Greg, a couple of years ago, he was sort of a hot guy there with the Reds, and then he got the injury, went away, and Texas is not a bad place to pitch, by the way. They're not hitting, so maybe you're not going to get your W's. Maybe you do, maybe you don't here. But I have no issues. I mean, I'm starting Mahle in 1-start leagues, more or less 2-start leagues. So, Go. I wish I had him in more. I think I've only got him in one league. I wish I had him in more.
Does it matter who's on the Royals right now? You got to start whoever that is. I mean, they're red hot. Michael Wacha makes 2 starts next week. He's the one on Kansas City, at Houston on Monday. Not the best start of all, and then gets the Cardinals on Sunday. But it doesn't matter. Like, the Royals are playing so fantastic. I think you got to start all your Royals.
Agreed. And Walker's been pitching. He's not going to light up your stat sheet, right? He's not going to strike out double digits, probably not. But he's a solid pitcher. And once again, a guy. They're 16-2 in their last 18. They're playing well. I mean, you're starting them. You're starting any of your Royals, really. Lorenzen, Bubik. I mean, these are all guys you're starting there. Of course, you're starting Reagans now that he's back. So yeah, I'm starting Walker here. Go Walker, go.
All right. Simeon Woods Richardson for the Minnesota Twins. Twins have not had the best season, George, but gets 2 starts next week as well.
He's probably a guy that's a 2-starter for me. Okay, he's okay. 2 starts. I like the matchups here. Yeah, well, let's give SWR a shot here. Let's ride with him. He's a guy who's not a week in and week out starter, but yes, next week is a yes.
All right. Well, finally, we will take a quick time out here on Fantasy Sports Today. When we come back next, we'll go over some streaming options in fantasy, some players who are less than 50% owned in fantasy baseball leagues. And if you want to stream our shows here on SportsGrid 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, make sure you download that SportsGrid app. It's available right now for both iOS and Android. The SportsGrid app, there's the QR code. Take that phone out and scan it. You'll be all set with programming 24/7. We'll be right back with more FST. We'll wrap up this first hour next.
You don't think that there's something to the fact that they blow all these leads against the Edmonton Oilers? It's like the Oilers can be down 4 goals and they come back like it's nothing.
We got a series now. I think this thing is going to reset, Scott. I think home ice advantage is going to hold true in this series. I think I told you that last week. I'm expecting this. I picked the Kings in 7 before the series started, and it's like plus 700.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Under him was Sharon Moore, who also participated in the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. So you know what happens to him? He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't get a 10-year show cause. He gets to keep his job, and they go, we're just going to suspend you for 2 games next season.
Now, all of a sudden, they're coming out with everything that we knew to be pretty much true when it was happening. Yeah, they were cheating. It was like Belichick and the videotapes, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star 3 trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Streaming options in fantasy baseball. We're not going to waste your time with players that are owned in 50% of leagues. We're going to find you some diamonds in the rough. George Kurtz, Craig Mish with you here as we wrap up this first hour of Fantasy Sports Today. We'll be back in the second hour. We'll hit on some fantasy football, get back to some fantasy baseball as well. Okay, George, let's start off with an oldie but a goodie. Justin Verlander, San Francisco Giants, only 22% owned in fantasy leagues. Verlander, George is sort of flying under the radar a little bit this year. He's, on the West Coast, so, certainly a little bit different. They play later. They're not the Dodgers, let's be honest. Starts Monday at Arizona. You making this pickup?
Not Arizona, I'm not. All right, Arizona can hit. All right. Listen, I wasn't in on Verlander at draft season. I don't have him anywhere. He's pitched probably maybe a little better than I thought, but his overall numbers, there's nothing. It's 1.31 whip, 4.5 ERA. Am I seeing this right? He doesn't have any W's? Doesn't have any wins. None. Where's he helping you? I mean, really, where's he helping you? 5 category. I guess he's got some strikeouts. Please tell me he's striking out more than a batter of an inning. And it's a little less than that, but still he's helping you there. But Arizona, I'm not saying he can't beat them. He can, but I'm not banking on it. So, no, I am not starting Verlander. Not this week. But there will be times, I'll admit, where I probably would. I mentioned I'm struggling in pitching, Greg, all over the place in fantasy. All over. I can't get a W to save my life. That's why I was so angry with the Gossman thing last week when Schneeman hit that grand slam. It screwed me. I had him in several leagues. I needed that W. And I was not happy here. But, no, Verlander against Arizona, that doesn't sound good to me.
Cubs play the Marlins coming up next week, so you know that I'm going to stay far away from this one. But would you start Ben Brown of the Cubs against the Marlins on Tuesday? I'm not going against the Marlins. You know that, George.
Yes, I do. Now, this has nothing to do with the Marlins, by the way. I was sort of interested in Brown anyway. I'm not talking about a guy who's going to carry your team, but he's been pitching okay, and maybe I'm looking for wins. So points league, you're looking for wins here, and Brown can maybe do that for you. He's got 3 wins on the season. Once again, his ERA is 5, his WHIP is 1.65. Those are not good numbers. So you're really only claiming him because you like the matchup against the Marlins, a team that struggles offensively here. So I can see this, yes, to go with Ben Brown. But I admit I was on Brown before. That was the Marlins. This past week I was on Brown, but his last start was not a good one.
Okay. Nick Martinez, kind of a sneaky pitcher in fantasy this season. Cincinnati Reds, of course, are playing good ball. He's 24% owned. A little bit of a mixed bag, George, but in the right matchup, you start him. How about against the White Sox on Thursday?
It's the White Sox. Craig, if Craig Mish is going against the White Sox, I am starting him. All right, yes. Listen, the White Sox they're not playing for anything. All right, this is not a very good team. It's another minor league lineup, and Luis Robert is going to get traded eventually, right? Maybe we'll go with Dodgers. They seem to be in on him. So, listen, against Colorado, against the White Sox, there's a couple other teams you're going to throw in here as well. Pittsburgh, you're starting those guys unless they're going up against Paul Skeens.
Fair enough. Tobias Myers back off the injured list. He's 5% owned. He'll start for the Milwaukee Brewers Friday against Minnesota. But I got a better pickup, George. Brandon Woodruff is about to come back for the Brewers. Very close, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks away. If that guy's on the waiver wire, I want him.
I agree on both. All right. I'll take a shot on Woodruff. I don't really expect big things right away. Let's just say for giggles, he starts next week. In a perfect world, I probably trust him more in a month, mid-June when he gets into it here. We're seeing so many pitchers who had injuries last year. Mainly it's Tommy John. He was more shoulder. So who are just struggling this season, right? They haven't been that guy yet. We're still waiting for those guys. I wonder if Woodruff's going to be that same way. But it's going to take him a little bit to be Brandon Woodruff again. But that being said, I can't say it enough. I'm struggling at pitching. If Woodruff's on the waiver wire, and he's not in any of my leagues, by the way, he was already claimed, put on the IL, whatever.
Gotcha.
I am going to grab him because you're hoping that he's going to be the guy he used to be. Plus, hey, Brewers playing well again.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, is it is fair, but that's the smart fantasy owner from maybe not before the season, but from like a few weeks ago, because you just can't hide news anymore. And if you see that Woodruff is going to be back in May, then you just stash him on the IL, and George is 100% right. Initially, what's it going to be? 4 innings, 5 innings? The Brewers don't let anybody outside of Peralta pitch deep anyway. So that's what it's going to be. But Woodruff is one of those guys that in June, in July, 8 innings, 7 innings. Like you could see that happening. He was that guy before he got hurt. We'll take a quick time out here on Fantasy Sports Today as we wrap up this first hour. Coming up in hour 2, we'll get our fantasy football fix in, hit on the news of the week, and then we'll dive back into the weekend matchups in baseball. You're watching Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. For those of you who are watching and have not yet gotten your mother a gift for Mother's Day, you got to get out there after and go do that. We'll be right back.